Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. We've got a big insider sale, depending on your perspective, but also massive buying too, and Microsoft's competitor product on the horizon for Palantir News today. But looking at the stock first, the market seems to have finally taken a direction, at least with Palantir, so far going down to the lower $19 range, down around 3% as of this recording. And this is also underperforming the indices as of now. So we'll see if we get another chance to test the $20 or move further down with a volatile name like Palantir, but don't be surprised in the short term at least to see some profit taking with the trader mindset and any inkling of uncertainty, and of course after a run up. But let's get into the news here, which is more important. And now that we are in 13F season, last daily Palantir video, I covered Palantir's holdings. But now let's see who has picked up a bunch of Palantir shares amongst institutions. And currently we are seeing holding 39.5% of Palantir shares from institutions, and that's worth around $16 billion. And net, there's been much more buying than selling in the change of positions, with a large percentage still being held by institutions, and this trend still continues with the new versus sold out positions, as well as albeit the amount of shares are pretty close though. Now the biggest names here, I'll point out a few, but Vanguard, which already had a huge position, picked up the most amount of shares last quarter at over 18 million shares, which represents around 11% change for them. Now more intriguing to me is Jane Street, who increased their position by 650%, and that's by 11 million shares since previously they only had about a million. Then Two Sigma Advisors as well had a 177% more, picking up 11 million shares. Now, if we go down one more, you'll see a familiar name here, Morgan Stanley, with their $9 price target I've talked about before, but they are still increasing their position here by 26%, picking up 4 million shares, and another well-known name at the bottom too, JP Morgan, they picked up 1.8 million shares, increasing their position by 164%. So there's obviously a ton of other examples, but we can see huge moves just by looking at the top institutional owners, but also the overall institutional owners I showed right before, continuing the narrative of Palantir getting scooped up. So I expect this to increase over time still, especially with S&P eligibility having been achieved. But remember, this is very backwards looking and it's very retrospective as a metric since there are as of September 30th. So a lot can change in between the time that they file and the date of record here. So for the insider sales, we've also got a new Form 144 posted on the investor relations website, and that's with the sale happening from Peter Thiel's Mithril. So they sold 2.4 million shares at an average price of $19.94. So for context, these were shares acquired back in 2012 and 2013, so they're offloading them now, and those are quite a ways back. Now, it's up to you to interpret how these signal and if these are insider sales that you should think are bad or neutral signs. Interestingly, though, we'll see how the market reacts further and see if we have any more follow-ups from insiders at Palantir. After a run-up like this, it would not be surprising. However, if you do remember in the past, we have seen insiders sell even those prices we deem low, which were below $10. Next is a high level on Microsoft's Fabric, but this isn't necessarily new news, but Satya Nadella, the CEO, announced their Fabric data platform at Microsoft Ignite. And I like to think of it as Microsoft's attempt at a foundry here. And if we know their reputation, it's not necessarily to be the best product. This is not anything secret, but really is the good enough product, especially when an enterprise is integrated so strongly with the ecosystem of other Microsoft products and turning a switch there. So it's much easier to transition. Now, on the military front, I'm not worried at all. Palantir has been built out and the capacity to be this as a top performer specifically for it. And Microsoft probably has no desire at all for that. But on the commercial end here, we may see enterprise clients at least want to compare and not necessarily desire to have the best of the best to run their enterprise in relation to cost and transformation and all those headaches associated with that. But then also depending on the alpha created by using Palantir versus Microsoft, if it is significant enough, that's one way to actually cross Microsoft's strategy here is if you're actually outperforming so much more that you have to actually spend the extra dollars for Palantir. But it's actually on Palantir's end to execute that though, and that's the future we need to look out for because in the end, the risk is all on them. And really quick, just remember to hit the notification bell. I release daily Palantir videos, and I'll see you in the next one.